Hey folks, in this video we will show you the top 5 worst things that ever happened to Spider-Man. Overcoming sorrow and sadness is a motive Spider-Man fans have come to expect, often taking up most of the hero's existence. Thousands of comic books have been written about Spider-Man as a character over the past 60 years, and fans have seen the hero react to practically every situation imaginable. In this video, we'll analyze the 5 worst moments Spider-Man faces in the Marvel Comics franchise. Let's get started. 5. When the symbiote suit made Spider-Man more aggressive. One of Spider-Man's worst moments was in the 1980s when he received an unexpected new suit as part of the Secret Wars crossover. The black outfit was revealed to be an extraterrestrial symbiote that attempted to merge with Peter Parker and nearly succeeded in doing so permanently. Spider-Man's black outfit, which first appeared on the cover of issue 8 during the Marvel Comics Secret Wars comic event, is one of Spider-Man's most popular looks. The black suit is defined as a weird substance that suddenly attaches itself to Spider-Man in Marvel Superhero Secret Wars. As a result, Spider-Man's strength is increased. Spider-Man recognized the suit had a mind of its own a few months after returning to Earth, and it made him more violent. In the hopes of getting rid of the suit, Peter visited Reed Richards in Web of Spider-Man 1, who used a sonic device to remove the black substance from his costume. A few weeks later, the suit returned in the form of Venom, who went on to harass Spider-Man and Mary Jane for the next many years. Venom was one of the most formidable symbiotes in comic books, threatening Peter Parker for years. Venom's immunity to Spider-Man's spider sense and intimate knowledge of Peter Parker's life resulted in some of Spider-Man's worst comic book moments. 4. When Doc Ock imprisoned Peter within his mind. The prequel to Dan Slott's critically acclaimed series, The Superior Spider-Man, begins with a cancer-ridden Doc Ock swapping bodies with Spider-Man. Otto's body soon dies, handing over Spider-Man to Octavius, who vows to be a bigger hero than Peter Parker ever was. Otto played Spider-Man for over a year before handing over control to Peter, who lived on in his consciousness. Doc Ock damaged Peter's relationship with MJ, got expelled from the Avengers, and earned a bad reputation for being extremely aggressive during his tenure as Spider-Man. Superior Spider-Man, considered by some fans to be the weirdest form of Spider-Man, originally appears in Amazing Spider-Man number 697. Superior Spider-Man was born from the body of Spider-Man in the mind of Otto Octavius. In the comic, Peter goes to the hospital to see Otto Octavius, who is dying. His consciousness was instantly swapped with Otto's, leaving him inside Otto's dying body. But because some of Peter's memories had been left behind, Otto decided to honor Peter's history and live up to the name Spider-Man. Although there is a silver lining in the form of Otto's redemption, Peter being abandoned to die in a body that was not his was brutal and heartbreaking. 3. The loss of loved ones pushed Spider-Man to maturity. This is the disaster that started it all. One of the worst things that happened to Spider-Man in the comics is also one of the most important to his character. Spider-Man's immature behavior inadvertently leads to the death of his Uncle Ben at the hands of a burglar Spider-Man could have stopped. The death of Peter's Uncle Ben, an important part of Spider-Man's origin story, is well known even among casual fans and has been explored in nearly every notable Spider-Man adaptation. Peter rapidly understands that his uncle's death is ultimately his responsibility once his uncle dies. Ben was a father figure to Peter, nurturing him after his parents died. Peter had almost arrested the perp hours earlier but decided against it out of vengeance for a man who refused to pay him. This tragedy resulted in Spider-Man's first significant learning. The death of Uncle Ben taught him not to be selfish and always to do the right thing. Given that Spider-Man frequently referenced back to the lessons Uncle Ben taught him, any Spider-Man reader could tell that this was one of the most crucial and terrible incidents in Spider-Man's life. Uncle Ben's famous words, "With great power comes great responsibility," have become one of the most memorable quotations in comic books, if not mainstream culture. Peter takes the famous remark imparted to him by his Uncle Ben after Ben's death. Ben's death defined Spider-Man as a person, yet it was tragic and senseless. Ben's murder is yet another tragedy in Peter's lengthy history of losing those closest to him. The event pushes Peter away from a career in law enforcement, and it has stayed with him ever since. Another sad incident is that Peter only narrowly avoided losing his parents again. When Peter's long-dead parents resurface unexpectedly, he believes they've been held captive in Algeria by the Red Skull his entire life. Over time, Spider-Man accepts that his parents are still alive, only to have the rug pulled out from under him when it is revealed that the pair were actually androids made by the Chameleon in a conspiracy orchestrated by Harry Osborn. The incident tremendously impacted Spidey's mental health, resulting in Aunt May discovering the truth about Peter's identity as Spider-Man. Aunt May is another loved one Peter loses. Aunt May has been the victim of several death impersonations, but this has to be the biggest. May was in a coma after a stroke, and when she awoke, she and Peter spent quality time together. In a genuinely beautiful scene, May acknowledged she'd known Peter was Spider-Man for some time. May dies soon after, marking a defining moment for Spider-Man that was later undone. However, the woman who really dies is Norman Osborn's hired actress, and the real Aunt May had been his prisoner for months. 2. Kraven burying Spider-Man alive. Overall, the 1980s were a bad decade for Spider-Man. Spidey was pushed to his utmost by the ruthless villain Kraven the Hunter in one of the best Spider-Man comics of all time, Kraven's Final Hunt. Kraven the Hunter came to New York City and hunted Spider-Man in the comic, hunting for the iconic Spider-Man for its ultimate hunt. Kraven embraced a wilder, more primal aspect of himself to properly trail Spider-Man, beginning in Web of Spider-Man number 31 and concluding in Peter Parker, the Amazing Spider-Man. In the infamous 1980s narrative Kraven's Final Hunt, the villain shoots and presumably kills Spider-Man before burying him on the grounds of his mansion, complete with a creepy tombstone. After several weeks of Kraven masquerading up as Spider-Man and terrorizing New York as a more violent vigilante, including the murder of some criminals, it was discovered that Spidey was only unconscious due to Kraven's use of a hypnotic. Spider-Man breaks out of his grave after some unsettling visions and goes on to defeat the Hunter. But it is a horrific experience from beginning to end. Kraven has done serious harm to Spider-Man's reputation. Kraven kidnaps Spider-Man and buries him alive in a local cemetery about halfway through the story. He then put on the black suit and attempted to live as Spider-Man. Given the conditions of being buried alive, mixed with Spider-Man's horrible reaction after clawing his way out, this was certainly one of Spider-Man's worst experiences. 1. Gwen Stacy's death changed Spider-Man forever. Norman Osborn impregnated Gwen Stacy, and that she died is a setback for Peter Parker. Gwen Stacy and Norman Osborn had an affair that resulted in the birth of twins, according to the Sins Past storyline from 2004. When Gwen refuses to let Norman raise the children, he responds, and this leads to her terrible death. More on that later. Norman raised the twins, whose blood was augmented with Norman's goblin serum and caused them to age quickly. They were made to believe Peter was their father and that he was the one who murdered Gwen and sought vengeance on him. The worst aspect is that Mary Jane was aware of the affair in twins, but kept it from Peter as part of a vow to Gwen. Yikes. Gwen Stacy's terrible death, arguably one of the most meaningful deaths of any comic character, had a lasting impact on Spider-Man. The plot, which took place in Amazing Spider-Man issues 121 and 122, began with the Green Goblin discovering Spider-Man's true identity. The Green Goblin kidnaps Gwen Stacy and takes her to the top of the George Washington Bridge, hoping to hit Peter through his loved ones. The Green Goblin dropped Gwen from the top and sent her plunging to her doom right in front of Spider-Man's eyes. But when Spider-Man grasped her ankle with his web, the momentum snapped her neck, killing her. After losing the first woman he ever loved, Spider-Man went through a long period of depression and discovered what may happen if his most ruthless adversaries discovered his identity. Gwen Stacy is one of Spider-Man's most interesting characters, and her demise due to the Green Goblin is one of the worst things that has ever occurred to Spider-Man. Her end in The Amazing Spider-Man number 121 is also one of Marvel Comics' most devastating deaths. Gwen's death has tormented Spider-Man for years, and he may never fully recover. Though Gwen has returned from the multiverse in comics and other media as Spider-Gwen, her death in Earth 616 remains one of Spider-Man's biggest tragedies. Captain George Stacy, Gwen's father and Spider-Man's ally, had died only months ago, with his final words disclosing that he knew Peter was Spider-Man and ordering him to protect Gwen. Norman accidentally murdered himself with his Goblin glider during the struggle that followed Gwen's death. The repercussions of this life-changing incident would forever impact Peter, and Gwen is still a vital element of the hero's identity today. That is how much we can take on this video. If there's any worst moment in Spider-Man's life you think should be here but isn't, please tell us in the comments section. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and flip the bell on for more interesting videos like this. Thanks for watching. Till next time.